Maurice Mo Mitchell joins me now. He is the National Director for the Working Families Party. Maurice, I am so glad to have you here. And I just want to back up for all the people who don't know about the great work that you do. Tell us about why your party chose to back India Walton and what specifically it is about her that appeals to your mission.
Well, absolutely. And first of all, it's a real pleasure to be here. And I'm just so excited to see you being able to report and just spread the word for what's actually happening on the ground. But why the Working Families Party is so excited about India Walton? I mean, our party, like you said before, we're about democracy. We're about an economy that works for all. We're about politics that is for the many, not the few. And that is exactly what India Walton is. That's who she's been throughout her entire life, and that's what she represents. So she experienced and continues to experience what everyday working people have gone through. She was a young mother, a nurse, a union organizer, an activist, somebody who actually tried to develop solutions to housing problems and issues around gentrification in Buffalo, and led this community land trust and brought together people from all across Buffalo. And last year during the uprisings was on the streets every single day calling out for justice for Black folks. She is the type of person that we want to be in elected office. She understands the challenges that everyday people go through all the time. A lot of the folks who currently are in office are just disconnected from the struggles of having to figure out how to make ends meet, having to figure out how to deal with being a single mother, having to figure out how to deal with not being able to pay your bills. And those are some of the things that unfortunately her opponent has tried to use against her. The fact that she has bills, the fact that she deals with some of the things that everybody deals with every single day. We think that makes her very accountable and uniquely prepared to be able to lead Buffalo.
God forbid you have bills and think you can also run for office. Oh my God, how taboo is that, right? One of the things that excites me about the folks that you're supporting right now, we've been talking so much about the progressive caucus on the Hill and progressive legislators. But what we're seeing right now is that progressives are also going hard after city executive seats this cycle. And we've got Walton that we're talking about right now in Buffalo. And also one of the members of your party, Michelle Wu, is in the running for the mayoral seat in Boston. So talk to us about these seats in major cities and the role of mayor and executives versus legislatures.
Sure. Well, what's great about executive roles, so your mayors, your sheriffs, your district attorneys, when they get elected, day one, they could take immediate action, right? They could really demonstrate in pretty clear ways what their vision looks like. They're not hemmed up in legislation or having to have a majority in the legislature. That's what makes a mayor so powerful. And we have an opportunity tomorrow to elect some pretty progressive mayors that are accountable to working people. You talked about, in Boston, in Buffalo, it's another example. And then also there's municipal races happening everywhere. So a lot of the attention has been on Virginia and on New Jersey because there's governor races, there are gubernatorial races coming up. And so understandably, but so much, and this is our bread and butter, so much of what's really exciting to me is the local elections, because that's close to what people are dealing with every single day. What your mayor does, what your mayor is able to do with a city council that's also progressive. What a sheriff or a district attorney who's progressive could possibly do for the criminal justice system, for example.
So we're talking about these executive roles. Obviously, big governor's race coming up tomorrow in Virginia. What's your take on that?
Well, we initially in the primary, we nominated somebody that we thought was a qualified progressive Black woman, Jennifer Carafoy, but, went in a different direction. Bottom line, we think it's incumbent that people understand what's on the line in Virginia and all across the country, right? So there is a Trump Republican, a Trumpist that's trying to run to the center, but we know exactly who he is, and we know because he's running on two things. He's running on critical race theory, and he's running on COVID, right? He's running on basically a lot of the conspiratorial stuff that the MAGA folks believe very, very deeply. So he's giving a dog whistle to the Trumpists in order to get him elected. And the agenda day one, he said day one, he's going to repeal critical race theory. What does that even mean? What
no
does that
such
message actually
thing.
say?
Just say they're not teaching that in
There's
schools. It's not a real thing.
There's no school where critical race theory is being taught, right? So clearly he knows that, we know that. So what is he actually saying, right? That is a dog whistle in order to animate the Trump base. And so we need to be clear about what's happening, what these politicians are saying, what they're not saying. We need to read between the lines. And in Virginia, that's really what's on the agenda. And so we think it's critical that people go out, especially Black folks, go out in large numbers in Virginia.
I got 1 minute left, and I want to get your word on Build Back Better. Obviously, your crew of progressives are fighting for working people to keep as many of the provisions as we need in that bill. What do you think is going to happen? At least, what are you hoping is going to happen this week?
Well, and I want to be really clear, because the debate around Build Back Better, sometimes people talk about it like it's progressives versus moderates. That's actually not what's happening, right? It's progressives, the president, and nobody claims that the president is some sort of progressive firebrand. It is 95% of the Senate, 95% of the House, a majority of Democrats, independents, and a whole lot of Republicans agree on most of the provisions in Build Back Better, right? Up against 2 senators and some corporate lobbies. That's really what we're talking about. And so I believe in the leadership of people like Pramila Jayapal, who is the chair of the Progressive Caucus. And what she's saying is, let's vote on both pieces. The Build Back Better provision, which provides a lot of resources to families, a lot of resources to healthcare, a lot of resources to education, a lot of resources to housing, a lot of resources to climate, and also let's also vote on the bill that deals with roads and bridges. Let's do both of those things. We agree with that, and we think most Americans do. So what we hope this week is that Congress will do the job in order to pass the president's agenda. This isn't some wild left agenda. This is the president's agenda, and there's 2 people in his own party that are holding it up. And so we need to make sure that people everywhere, independents, Republicans, Democrats, make sure that their voices are heard and their representatives hear them when they say that it's time for Congress to actually deliver.
Maurice Mitchell, Mo, thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. We have got to have you back regularly. Appreciate you and your insights.